Datura metal can kill you with a single leaf. Cannabis is now legal in 40 states. These two plants have shaped human consciousness for thousands of years, yet one is sold in dispensaries across America, while the other can end your life before you realize what's happening. This is everything you need to know about Datura metal and cannabis, two substances that could not be more different in how they hijack your brain. Let's start with what these plants actually are, because understanding the biology is the key to understanding everything else. Cannabis needs little introduction. It's the most commonly used illicit drug in the United States. In 2024, an estimated 64.2 million Americans aged 12 or older used marijuana in the past year. Almost 44.3 million reported using it in the past month. It contains nearly 150 known cannabinoid compounds, with THC and CBD being the most significant. It's a plant whose pharmacology we are still unraveling even after millennia of human use. Datura metal is a different beast entirely, known by names like devil's trumpet, devil's apple, moonflower, and thorn apple. It's a small shrub in the Solanaceae family, the same family as tomatoes and potatoes. Like its deadly cousin, Atropa belladonna, also known as deadly nightshade, Datura metal belongs to a lineage of plants that have been poisoning people for as long as recorded history. It grows 3 to 5 feet tall with thick dark green leaves and large trumpet-shaped flowers, white or purple. Its fruit is a spherical pod covered in soft spines, containing up to 200 small dark seeds, and every single part of this plant, the leaves, the stems, the flowers, the seeds, is lethally toxic. It's also frequently confused with its close cousin Brugmansia, known as angel's trumpet, a sibling genus in the same toxic family, which has caused its own wave of accidental poisonings worldwide. Now here's where it gets fascinating. Both of these plants alter your mind, but they do it through completely opposite mechanisms. Cannabis works through what is called the endocannabinoid system. THC, the primary psychoactive compound, acts as a partial agonist at CB1 receptors. These are the most abundant G protein-coupled receptors in the human brain. They are concentrated in areas governing memory, emotion, and motor coordination. When THC binds to these receptors at presynaptic terminals, it triggers a cascade of cellular signaling that modulates the release of neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin. The result is that familiar constellation of effects: euphoria, relaxation, altered perception, and sometimes anxiety. CBD, the other major cannabinoid, does something almost oppositional. It has very low affinity for CB1 receptors. Its inhibitory constant is 2010 nanomolar compared to THC's 6.62 nanomolar. Instead, CBD works as a negative allosteric modulator at CB1 receptors, and it inhibits FAAH, the enzyme responsible for breaking down the natural endocannabinoid anandamide, which means levels of both anandamide and the other major endocannabinoid, 2-AG or 2-arachidonyl-glycerol, rise as a result. CBD also acts on serotonin 5-HT1A receptors and dopamine D2 receptors. It has antipsychotic, anxiolytic, and anti-addictive properties, which is why researchers describe THC and CBD as pharmacological siblings with broadly oppositional effects. Datura metal uses a completely different key to unlock a completely different door. Its active compounds are tropane alkaloids, atropine, scopolamine, and hyoscyamine. These are competitive antagonists at muscarinic acetylcholine receptors, all 5 subtypes, M1 through M5. Acetylcholine is one of the most fundamental neurotransmitters in your nervous system. It governs everything from muscle contraction to memory formation to maintaining your basic awareness of reality. Datura blocks it. The result is captured perfectly by a medical mnemonic that has been taught to emergency physicians for generations. Blind as a bat, mad as a hatter, red as a beet, hot as a hair, dry as a bone. The bowel and bladder lose their tone, and the heart runs alone. That mnemonic describes anticholinergic toxidrome: dry mouth, dry skin, flushing, dangerously elevated body temperature, racing heart, urinary retention, dilated pupils that can't constrict, and centrally, in the brain, ataxia, delirium, aggression, visual and auditory hallucinations, speech disorders, convulsions, and coma with Glasgow Coma Scale scores as low as 7. These symptoms can persist for 48 hours or longer, and survivors frequently report complete amnesia. When patients do reach emergency care, the primary antidote is physostigmine, a drug that works by inhibiting the breakdown of acetylcholine, effectively raising its levels high enough to compete with and overcome the blockade Datura has created. And here's a detail that should stop anyone from ever experimenting with this plant. A given plant's toxicity depends on its age, where it is growing, and the local weather conditions. There is no safe dose because there is no predictable dose. 50 to 100 seeds contain approximately 3 to 6 milligrams of atropine, but that concentration varies wildly from plant to plant. In one fatal case, blood concentrations of scopolamine reached 0.30 milligrams per liter, roughly 3,000 times the average therapeutic level. Despite this terrifying toxicity, Datura metal has a rich history in traditional medicine spanning thousands of years. Its earliest documented use appears in Vedic literature around 1000 BCE, where seeds were offered in rituals to Shiva and Kali. The Karaka Samhita from the 1st or 2nd century CE mentions it for treating neurological disorders. In traditional Chinese medicine, it's recorded as Yang Jin Hua and was historically used as an anesthetic during surgery. Native American groups, including the Chumash, Luiseno, and Zuni, used it for divinatory visions, sometimes using the related species Datura stramonium, known in North America as Jimson weed. In Tantric Buddhism, it appears in instructions for ritual magical acts, but traditional use came with traditional knowledge about its dangers. Modern recreational abuse strips away that context entirely. The real-world consequences are documented in case after disturbing case. In Venezuela, in 1999, 15 people were poisoned by wasp honey made from nectar gathered from Datura plants. In Hong Kong, accidental poisonings occur periodically because the flowers of Datura beetle are confused with those of the non-toxic Campsis grandiflora. In one forensic case, a travel guide admitted to adding Datura to a drink to stun and rob his victim. The victim died from cardiac arrhythmia caused by severe anticholinergic syndrome. In Trinidad, a 75-year-old patient blended approximately 400 to 500 Datura seeds with marijuana, honey, and milk. In Hungary, Datura species accounted for up to 16% of all plant-related intoxications between 2005 and 2017. Cannabis, by contrast, continues its march toward mainstream acceptance. As of March 2026, 40 states plus the District of Columbia have comprehensive medical marijuana laws. 24 states allow recreational use. On April 22, 2026, a DEA final order took effect that fundamentally altered the federal regulatory landscape, reclassifying medical cannabis to Schedule III. The FDA has been closely involved in shaping that regulatory pathway, and the practical effect is significant. Companies can claim federal tax benefits, and research can expand to state universities. But acceptance shouldn't be confused with complete safety or proven efficacy. A UCLA health study led by Dr. Michael Su found what he called significant gaps between public perception and scientific evidence regarding cannabis effectiveness for most medical conditions. The largest systematic review of cannabinoid clinical trials across mental health conditions screened nearly 5,800 studies and found no evidence that medicinal cannabis effectively treats anxiety, depression, or PTSD. 0 completed randomized clinical trials existed for depression. A major review in January 2026 found the evidence for cannabis treating chronic nerve pain just isn't there yet. And the brain research reveals its own complexities. Studies published in March 2026 found that THC doesn't just blur memories, it can create entirely new ones that never happened. Cannabis users in controlled experiments were significantly more likely to recall words they were never shown. Long-term anticholinergic drug use, including Datura, appears to significantly increase the risk of developing dementia. So what are we left with? 2 plants. One increasingly woven into the legal and medical fabric of modern society, its 150 compounds slowly yielding their secrets to clinical trials at UCSD, UCSF, and universities nationwide. The other, a botanical relic of ancient ritual, related to Jimson weed, to angel's trumpet, to belladonna, too dangerous for any responsible modern use, its unpredictable alkaloid concentrations making every encounter a game of pharmacological roulette. The contrast between Datura metal and cannabis isn't just a story about chemistry or law. It's a story about the line between medicine and poison, between a substance humanity is learning to regulate and one that resists regulation by its very nature. And if there's a single takeaway, it's this: the fact that something is natural, that it grows in the ground, that it has been used for 3,000 years, tells you absolutely nothing about whether it is safe.